Hey everybody, this is Jonathan from the Real Estate Appraisal Group. The last few weeks, I made videos talking about investing, and when you're a brand new investor, what is, or at least as an appraiser, what have I seen investors that have had success, what strategies did they use, and so which ones were the most effective. So I want to talk to you some more about that. All right, let's hit it. So anyway, I'm outside. You coming, Coco? All right, girl, come on. Coco's hanging out with me today. By the way, Coco's my dog. Hey, girl. She's about 3 years old, and it's just a good time for her. So I was talking about investment strategies. As an appraiser, I'm often involved in transactions where people are buying and investing in real estate. For the past 3 weeks, I discussed 3 different strategies. The first one was fix and flip. The second one was BRRRR, and then we talked about house hacking. So which one do I find investors are the most successful with when they are starting out especially, all right? Now, the first strategy was fix and flip strategy, okay? That's where you're buying a property that needs to be renovated and you're just fixing it up, adding more value to that home, and then, selling it and taking the money out and then repeating the process. The 2 problems that I found with that strategy is that investors have a hard time with paying a lot of taxes because usually you have a large tax bill. So they're thinking they're going to make a certain amount of money, but Uncle Sam is going to come and get their own, okay? They're going to take a big chunk of that money. And that messes up what they can do for future investment. Then next, the other problem is that fix and flippers find themselves having to continue to go out and find more properties. So it actually becomes like a job. Let me help you understand what I mean. So they find a property, they fix it up, and then they're done, they sell it, but then they don't have anything else to work on. So they have to keep getting more properties, bringing in more and more properties into their pipeline. So that's a big challenge for fix and flippers because once they stop, then their work, their investment is done. They have nothing else to bring in income. So then you have, for example, BRRRR investors, okay? We talked about BRRRR investing. Now, BRRRR investing is pretty cool because you're kind of like fixing it up. You're kind of doing like fix and flippers, but instead of BRRRR, instead of selling it, you're refinancing it, renting it, refinancing it, and then holding it for long-term income. Now that income is going to increase as rents increase. And so if you stop, you will still reap the benefits of having done that transaction and continue on into the future. Okay. So if you hold on to that property for 5, 10, 15, 20, or 30 years, your rental income is going to continue to go up and you'll benefit just from that one transaction. So you can actually kind of retire if you do this over and over and over again. So then we have house hacking. House hacking is great. That's where you get to buy a property. You buying it as if you're going to own or occupy it. And then you do whatever. And then I guess within a short period of time, maybe like within, a year or so, something like that, you go and buy another one. But with house hacking, you're often renting out the different rooms. Now that has its pros and cons because, you got to rent out the rooms. But the big pro with that one is the down payment is much smaller for buying that property because now all of a sudden you're buying it as if you're owner occupied and your lender will treat it as such. You might only have to put down maybe as low as 3% to buy it into that property. And then on your next one, you might only have to do 5 to 10%. That's a lot less than what fix and flippers and BRRRR investors often have to bring to the table. So which one do I find? I don't know where Coco went. She out here somewhere. Anyway, which one do I find investors have the most success with? I would say when I've talked to investors, it tends to be the house hackers. The house hackers, why? Because they've put down a small down payment and they lived for very little amount of money. They rented out rooms, or maybe they had a duplex and rented out one side, and that allowed them to live off of the other, for a little bit. They could live in the other side. If they had like a multifamily, like 3 or 4 units, your down payment might be a little bit larger, but still not as big as if it were just a full investment property. And they're practically living for free. I've actually was just listening to a story where a gentleman, he house hacked. And once he turned 18, that's when he could buy a house. He had been house hacking, he's been doing it for 10, 15, 20 years and has never had to pay for living, okay? And he's in his 30s and he's worth over $30 million. It's ridiculous. House hacking was a great vehicle for him. Now you can mix the two strategies, okay? For example, you could buy a property like to house hack, but then you could fix it up while you're living there. You're adding value, and then you go on to buy another one, and you just keep that first property as a rental property because your down payment, your debt on that is not that expensive. And so then when you bring in income, it turns into a little bit of profit, and then you go on and buy the next property. So mixing up these strategies is very effective. I have seen investors become wildly successful over time. You're looking at a 5-year process, which is not that much time, but even 10 years. And a lot of them often say that they started with house hacking. They bought a property, they rented out rooms, or they rented out a portion of their property, and that allowed them to live with very little, have a very small living expense, and then they could use that to reinvest in the future property. So that's just my 2 cents, okay? This is just from my experience. What I'd like you to do, I do want to hear your comments. Tell me, what do you think? Are you thinking about investing? Or if you have, what was the strategy that worked the best for you? What did you start off with? In the meantime, also subscribe to my channel. I appreciate the subscribers, and we've been getting a lot of good feedback from, this content. And I just want to continue to share my insight on real estate investing, or real estate in general, but how I see it as an investor, as an appraiser, because, we have a really unique perspective on real estate transactions, and it would help people making their own future decisions. So I look forward to talking to you in the future. Have a good day. I gotta go find Coco. I don't know where she is. Bye.